Hey guys, what's going on? So today we have the next part of my CD collection. So last time we left off on the Exploited, so we finished off the E, so now we're on to F, G onwards. Background, listening to Abysmal Torment with Epoch of Methodic Carnage. Great shit. Got this one for Christmas. Yeah, really cool stuff. Alright, so first up, we've got the first two albums by this band. Flesh Grind from Illinois. Classic brutal death metal. I was playing this one in the background of the last video I made. Really good shit. Not the best ever. A lot of people call them cookie cutter, and they kind of are. They sound a lot like Broken Hope. But it's really fun stuff to listen to nonetheless, though. There is some pretty good songwriting, although a lot of the songs on here do blend together. And not in like a typical way that they do it like they would on a brutal death metal album. Like, past the first three songs, the rest of the songs just aren't as memorable. But it's still a very fun album to listen to. It's more of a backgroundy sort of brutal death metal album. I don't usually feel like I'm in the mood for this one, but it's still a very solid album. Really like the album cover. And then there's the back with all the fucking song titles. Very 90s looking layout. This is an original press put out through Pulverizer Records. Fun fact, this was actually sealed when I bought it, so it's in like mint condition. And I got it for like $20, which is a steal. And ironically, like the day after I ordered this off of Discogs, Rich Lipscomb fucking passed away. So rest in peace. But yeah, if we're gonna listen to one song off of this album, if you've never heard Flesh Grind before, Burning Your World. That song is so catchy. I also really like the production on this, really punchy. But yeah, really cool stuff. Flesh Grind, Destined for Defilement. Then I have their sophomore album, The Seeds of Abysmal Torment. This one was put out through Century Media, which I think is kind of weird, but I don't really know what Century Media's rep as a label was like back then, but nowadays they have like all the big like corporate level death metal bands. So I don't know why they signed like a smaller brutal death metal band, but this came out in 2000. This one's a lot faster, more technical, kind of more in line with like that style, like technical brutal death metal stuff like Disgorge, Deeds of Flesh, Defeated Sanity. Maybe not as technical as those, but it's close. The musicianship on here is better. This one sounds less like Broken Hope, and they kind of have more of their own sound on here. This one's probably a better album, but I just like Destined for Defilement more because I heard it first, probably. But yeah, I was listening to this one yesterday. The guitar tone on this reminds me a lot of Heinous Killings, which I think is kind of interesting, even though Heinous Killings came out after this. But the first song here, Destroying Your Will, is really good. Hogtied and Hate Fucked is a really good song and pretty sick song title. But yeah, solid album. Not my favorite, but very good. So yeah, the first two Flesh Grind albums. I need to get the demos. I know there's like a comp probably somewhere. Next we have a CD I don't really care about that much, and I might piss off some people, but the crowd that likes this band doesn't really watch my videos as far as I'm concerned. It's Fugazi with Repeater. I love Minor Threat, and I do like Rites of Spring quite a bit, but I just could not get into this band. I got this as a blind buy back in like 8th grade, because I knew that Ian MacKaye and the guy from Rites of Spring, I forgot his fucking name, were in this band. And, everybody talks about Fugazi as if they're like the best band. Like, I don't know what it is with Fugazi and Sonic Youth are like the two bands that everybody and their mom pretends to like worship, but you never really hear anybody talk about any particular songs. That sounded probably really shitty, and I probably pissed off a lot of people, but I don't know, I just could not get that into this, man. I like the release before this. I forgot what it's called. It's like an EP, but the one with Waiting Room, that's a really good release, but this one just felt very not uninspired, but overly mature, if that makes sense. Like, there's just not a lot of youthful energy in this, which even really like emotion, I don't know, it just feels very dull to me. But there's some good songs on here, like Turnover is really catchy. Shut the Door probably has the most emotion on any of the songs in here, but I don't know, songs like Blueprint or like the title track just feel stale to me. I don't know, it just doesn't click with me. But yeah, Fugazi, Repeater, it's okay. Next up we got a really good classic hardcore punk album, Germs GI. If you're into punk, you should know this. If you don't, classic, early hardcore punk, similar to like early Black Flag, The Circle Jerks, TSOL. Cool stuff. Shitty like cardboard digipack, but what can you do? It's such a shitty cardboard digipack that it came with this so that the CD doesn't get scratched. It's like a mini LP sort of layout. But there's the disc with the blue circle. I don't really know whose idea the fucking album cover was or what the reasoning behind it was, but yeah. Rest in peace, Darby Crash, of course. Great front man. I need to watch the biopic that they did. I've been meaning to watch that fucking for like 5 years. But yeah, this is a really good album. My favorite song here, honestly, is probably the other newest one. It's a really underrated, deep cut, really catchy song. But yeah, Germs, GI. Don't have much to say for this one, but classic hardcore punk. Listened to this one a lot in middle school. Next up, we got Goratorium with their single, Forensics. This band was on the bill when I opened for To Violently Vomit. And I think I've told this story on here before, but I remember when we were watching To Violently, because it was a 21 plus show, but it was outdoors. So me and my friends and the rest of my band, we were just watching To Violently Vomit play from behind like the chain link fence. And we could see and hear pretty well, which was cool. But all the opening bands, I guess they felt bad because they were like, man, these fucking kids have more energy and passion than because the crowd inside the venue fucking sucked. So these guys and some of the other bands, they were really cool, and they just handed us free shit, like just free merch and stuff over the fence. So that was really cool. And this is some really solid brutal death metal. It's better than you would expect. Judging off the artwork and the name, you'd think it's like some like Carcass worship or Exhumed worship, but it's not. It's just straight up solid brutal death metal from what I remember. I need to listen to this again, though. I've only listened to the CD a handful of times. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just like one song. But yeah, really cool stuff. Goratorium with Forensics. Next up, we got one of my favorite Slam albums. Gorevent, Abnormal Exaggeration. You know, if you're into like cephalotripsy and cerebral incubation, you'll probably like this. But if you don't like modern-ish, I shouldn't say modern because those albums came out like almost 20 years ago. Or not 20, like 15 years ago. If you don't like pig squealy type of Slam vocals, you'll like this because this is just all straight gutturals, but it's that same like almost all slams sort of style as like cephalotripsy. Yeah, the vocals are a little more devourment-y on here. Really good Japanese Slam though. The first song on here, Extinction, the opening riff is very Liege of Inveracity sounding. If you like Slam, you'll love this, and if you don't, you probably won't love this. Most Slam, that's kind of how it goes. Okay, I don't know what it is, but with almost every Japanese brutal death metal band, there's always at least one band member in the picture wearing a Deeds of Flesh Trading Pieces shirt, and it's always that one. I don't like that particular version of the shirt. I don't know why, but it's so funny. I'll point that out with other. I think Infected Malignity is another one where you see that. I don't know why. It's so funny to me. It's a weird coincidence, but yeah, Gorevent, Abnormal Exaggeration, great Slam, fun shit to listen to. Dumb chugs. Next up, we got some classic hardcore. Gorilla Biscuits, self-titled EP. Straight edge youth crew stuff. Really catchy. A little beatdowny, but not quite as much as hardcore would get with bands like Bulldoze and Irate, which I think that stuff is really cool. Like the beatdowny stuff is probably the hardcore stuff I like the most, because outside of like 80s hardcore punk at least, just because it's so like groovy in like a slammy sort of way almost. But yeah, fun shit to listen to, really catchy. I used to listen to this one a lot back in like 8th grade. I had a bit of a phase where I was really into the youth crew stuff like Gorilla Biscuits and Youth of Today. Big Mouth is probably the best song on here. Hold Your Ground's another good one. And then of course High Hopes. But yeah, love this shit. Gorilla Biscuits, self-titled EP. I also have their full-length Start Today on vinyl. I'd say that release is actually better. Next up, we got one of my favorite bands. I have all but one of their albums, Gorgasm. First up, the Stab Wound Intercourse EP. Fantastic EP, classic for a reason. One of the best brutal death metal EPs ever made. It's not my favorite release from them, but it's definitely up there. I love the album cover. It's just super memorable and really fucked up. Cool art on the back on this reissue. I wish that they kept the original logo that's on the OG press. I think it looked way better, but the 7 reissue has this logo, which is still cool, but not as cool as the one that's on the original if you've seen it before. Yeah, Horrendous Rebirth is my favorite song on here. Just super fucking, like, ultra brutal and guttural, but with hints of, like, neoclassical melody. That's, like, the best way I could describe Gorgasm's sound. And, like, the neoclassical melody makes it feel more evil in a way. I don't really know how to explain it, but if you've heard Gorgasm before, you know what I mean. But yeah, love this EP, Stab Wound Intercourse. And we got my favorite release from Gorgasm. Their debut full-length, Bleeding Profusely. what I love about this album is how good the songwriting is, honestly. Because they're just as fast and brutal and technical as any other early 2000s unique leader band. But they have really good songwriting because they throw in a lot of hooks and melody that really make the songs just more memorable. Fucking the Viscera is my favorite on here, but some of the other best songs are Lesbian Stool Orgy, Morbid Overgrowth has like my favorite guitar solo from Gorgasm. Fisticunt is great with the classic gang vocal, the all fist fuck you bitch at the end of the song. It's so edgy, but it's so fun. Yeah, great shit. Nasty as fuck, but with little like pretty sounding melodic riffs here and there, which, like I said, makes it feel more twisted. It's really cool. If you're not into brutal death metal, honestly, if you could get past how like overtly offensive the lyrics to this are, if you're not into brutal death metal, Gorgasm is a pretty good death metal band in general to be into if you just like death metal in general, because there's a lot of hooks in these songs. The vocals are guttural, but they're not like as low as like Disgorge or like Devourment or something. If you could get into like bands like Nile or like Dying Fetus or even like Origin, then you should have no problem getting into Gorgasm besides the imagery and stuff. But yeah, I love this album, Bleeding Profusely. Then we got my second favorite from them, and it's a really close second. I like this album almost as much. Masticate to Dominate. This is like the most extreme thing they ever made. It's like their fastest and their most technical. And it's also probably their tightest too. Like the drumming on here is one of the best performances you'll ever hear in all of brutal death metal. Some of the fastest and tightest blast beats ever. Love the album cover by John Zig. Really cool shit. Love character-based Cannibal Corpse-y gore art like that. Anal Skewer is great. The two best songs on here, in my opinion, are Seminal Embalmment and then Dead Fuck. Those are like the post-mortem and Raining Blood of brutal death metal. You can't listen to one without the other, in my opinion. Yeah, super fast, super technical, but also very catchy. It's not quite as melodic as Bleeding Profusely, and it's not quite as hook-laden, but it still has those in there. The neoclassical parts are a little shreddier on this album, like the solo and Anal Skewer, for example. But there's still some really good melodies on here, like Stitched Oral Asphyxia has some really pretty melodies in there, mixed in with all the crazy blasts and chromatic riffs. But yeah, love this shit. Masticate to Dominate. Then there was a hiatus for a while, and they didn't put anything out, and then they got back together and did this one, Orgy of Murder. You can barely see that album cover. But yeah, this one's not as good. A lot of the songs on here don't really feel like Gorgasm songs. Like there's a song on here, I think it might be Axe to Mouth, has like a straight up slam in it, which I find really weird, but it's still a very solid album. I like the band photo right there. I just thought that was a cool one. But yeah, it's solid, but I don't really go for this one as much as I do the others. I need to get the album after this, the one that was put out through New Standard Elite. What's it called? Destined to Violate. That's like the only album I don't have from Gorgasm. But yeah, really good shit. Orgy of Murder. Not as good as the other three. It's not as classic, but it's still solid. Definitely not an album you'd want to skip over it, but if you're not huge into Gorgasm, you're not missing out on much if you haven't heard it. But yeah, it's all like Gorgasm stuff.
Next, next we got actually two of my favorite CDs.
And these are the two CDs I paid the most for. So first, Guttural Secrete, Recapubescent Despoilment. I think I paid like 60 or 70 for this, which is way too much, but it was worth it because I fucking love this album. And it was a sealed copy too. But yeah, this came out in either 2005 or 2006, and this is like one of the best brutal death metal albums of the 2000s in my opinion. Ultra fucking brutal and also very technical while still being really catchy. The best way I could describe Guttural Secrete is like a mixture of Devourment, Cryptopsy, and Malignancy. They're as like technical and weird as Cryptopsy. They're as brutal and like guttural sounding as Devourment, and some of the vocals kind of remind me of Malignancy, and the weirdness of some of the riffs does. But yeah, just super cool shit. Everything you'd want from a brutal death metal this band has. They have crazy blasts, they have slams and chugs. The vocals are definitely the best part of this, which I think, they live up to the namesake, Guttural Secrete. Just super guttural vocals, and they also have these inhale highs that are really fucking energetic sounding. But yeah, this album, it always gives me a fucking adrenaline rush whenever I listen to it. I mean, Razor Eyes Ball Gag, fucking, you can't go wrong. That song is a classic for a reason. But yeah, I love this shit so much. Guttural Secrete, Recapubescent Despoilment. And then, kind of funny that coincidentally, like alphabetically, these CDs are right next to each other in my collection. This one I think I paid like $50 for, and this is another one of my favorites. I actually like this one more than Ghetto Secrete, even though they're not really comparable. Heinous Killings, Hung with Barbed Wire, one of the best one-man brutal death metal albums ever made, and one of the darkest brutal death metal albums ever made. Insane, scary-sounding vocals from Joe Wolf. Really hardcore-inspired, beat-downy sort of riffs, really clicky-sounding typewriter program drums. Love this shit so much. This was put out through Unmatched Brutality. It's pretty rare nowadays, and well, even when I bought this, it was rare. But yeah, I waited like 6 months for this to come in the mail too. I remember I ordered it from overseas, and this was when mail was really slow during like COVID and stuff, around like the end of 2020. And yeah, but it was so worth the wait. I remember being so happy when this finally showed up in the mail. Yeah, it's just really hateful sounding, really ugly brutal death metal. Yeah, and very one of a kind. I can't think of any other bands that sound like Heinous Killings. And really big inspiration for the one-man shit that I do with Hostile Deviancy as well. I borrow a lot from that riff style. This is the only full length that was put out through Heinous Killings. There's also a split with Necrotic Disgorgement that has... I'd argue the Heinous Killings stuff on the split is even better than on the full length, because he kind of found the sound... I can't talk. The sound evolved a little more on the split, and there's some more like beat-down hardcore kind of stuff going on, which is really cool. Because I know Joe Wolf was also in like the hardcore scene outside of brutal death metal. So it makes sense. I mean, this is already pretty hardcore inspired, but it's also very blasty. But yeah, love this shit. Heinous Killings, Hung with Barbed Wire. Alright, next up, we have fucking,
CD's got all jumbled up. Hold up.
Okay, next up we have the first two Incantation albums. I don't really talk about Incantation that much on here, but I do like Incantation quite a bit. First up, Onward to Golgotha, Relapse reissue. Really influential to a lot of bands I don't care about that much, but Incantation do the style so good that it's so fun to listen to. Just great, I guess you could say proto-Death Doom. The jewel case on this it's fucked. Love the album cover. Yeah, really fucking dark, super evil and scary sounding. This came with a DVD, which I've never watched, but I think it's just live stuff, but that's the disc cover for the DVD. But yeah, you know, it's a classic. If you're into death metal, you should have heard this album already. And if you hadn't, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. But Immortal Cessation has always been my favorite on here. Actually, no, that's my second favorite. My favorite on here is fucking Unholy Massacre, because that's the first song I ever heard from Incantation. But Rotting Spiritual Embodiment, the intro to that song gives me fucking goosebumps every time. It's just so hellish sounding and creepy. I know it's a really generic way to describe metal, but this album genuinely does sound evil and fucking hellish, I guess. I don't know. Really cool shit, though. Incantation, Onward to Golgotha, classic for a reason. Then I have their sophomore album, which I like almost as much, Moral Throne and Nazarene. I'm pretty sure this is a first press, too. Love the album cover. This one's even doomier. It's even more raw. I know there's two different mixes of this album, and there's like, they released the different mix of this album with like a different title. I forgot the name, but there's the disc. Pretty cool. Also, I love the side text to the album title. But yeah, I don't listen when I'm in the mood for Incantation. I usually go for Onward to Golgotha, but I like this one almost as much. But yeah, really cool shit. The art like unfolds like a big thing right there. But yeah, I think that's about it for this video, though. I'm reaching almost 20 minutes, and I don't want this to be too long. But yeah, Incantation. I like them quite a bit. When I'm in the mood, I'll throw them on. They're a band that like I don't listen to very regularly, but when I'm in the mood for them, they always hit like really hard. I don't know. But yeah, that's it for this video, though. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.